So welcome everybody, everybody here in the audience and everybody watching us from the live feed. We already started off with a really good conversation here and got quite technical as well. Hopefully that will continue, but mostly today we will be talking about Nortal Leap. So we're going to talk about facts, a bit about experiences, and getting answers to all of your questions, as well as everybody who's watching us on the live feed. So we will be taking questions throughout the event. Anybody who has questions in the audience, just raise your hand and wave at me. We're going to get the microphone to you, so the question will be heard from the live audience as well. Anybody on the YouTube, just comment or add the questions in the commenting feed. Somebody will pick them up, forward them to me, or you're going to get the responses right there in the comments. But before we get into the deep details, let me introduce myself a bit. So my name is Priit Liivak. I'm currently in the position of Head of Engineering here in Nortal. I used to be Head of Engineering, sorry. I'm now a Chief Architect in Nortal. But I have been doing a lot of different things. I started off as a junior developer from Summer University 2006. That means kind of my years here are coming close to 17 in this summer. And over those 17 years, I have had a chance to work on very different projects in different geographies. Have been working with huge telecoms in US, in governments in Nigeria, Sweden, and Oman. So I have had quite a run. And also have had a chance to work with very different roles and teams, as Nortal is a multinational company and we are located in different countries. On the side, I'm also the host of Algorithm podcast. Who is listening Algorithm? Okay, we have about 2,000 listeners weekly and only one in the audience. That's kind of embarrassing. But it's good stuff, and afterwards look it up. It's definitely worth it. It has a wide range of topics for developers and roles who are not in development. So that's about me. But with me today, I also have Hanna-Mari Kaljas and Martin Altoa, who are currently full-stack developers in Nortal. And I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves in few sentences, how you came to Nortal and what you're doing here today. So Hanna-Mari, maybe we start from you.
Mm-hmm. Hello everyone, my name is Hanna-Mari, as Priit mentioned. I have been in Nortal now a little bit more than 1 year. I joined last winter with the Winter University program. And yeah, right now I'm full stack developer in Germany team, and we are developing a mobile application for one big German bank. And the application is like a loyalty program. Yeah, and that's it.
So I'm Martin. Hanna and I both joined together last year in Winter University. Right now I am working in the tax domain on tax declarations.
So how do you guys like it? How has been your first year, to summarize?
Huge challenge, I would say, but I have been enjoying every day of it.
Yeah, same. It's simultaneously been the hardest job I've ever had and the easiest. It depends on which way to look at it.
Yeah. Okay, so today we are talking about Nortal Leap, and you heard about summer university, and you maybe have heard about winter university in the past. Essentially, all the three of these are the same thing. So from now on, we're going to talk about Nortal Leap, and it's essentially the same program that we have been running for 10 plus years. We changed the name to Nortal Leap just to represent better what it actually is. So summer university and winter university look a bit more like trainee programs or intern programs, which this thing is not. It's more about, it's a lot about learning, but it's also about getting acquainted with actual projects, actual customers, and getting a look inside of the actual work, not coming in as an intern and doing some internal projects throughout the summer. So, about Nortal Leap. So high level, the sequence of the events is simple. You apply if you decide to do so. Then you get a test assignment. Next is the interview phase. Then there's a training program for you to go through in Nortal once you are in. And then you're going to move into projects and get to know customers, your teammates a bit better, and work on those projects as junior developers. So that's fairly simple, but there's a lot of details in there. So we have a first question in the audience. Go ahead. Yeah, let's get the microphone as well.
Hi. Each of those phases you mentioned, how competitive are they? Or like how many people will get into the interview phase, or how many will get to the further project, etc.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have good answers. I don't have very specific answers. Already we have 200 plus applicants. 400. Yeah, my last info is from yesterday. Then we had 200. 400. The usual amount is around 1,000, and 15 of those people will get selected eventually in the end. So interview phase, it depends a lot about our ability to do those interviews, but usually it's about 3 times the amount of eventual participants. So 50 interviews is a reasonable thing, but it varies depending on how many good applicants we get or good test assignment results we get. So if you'll do well on the test assignment, then you definitely get to the interview phase, regardless of how many people were better than you.
Thank you.
But let's go through maybe all these stages one by one in a bit more detailed phase. So the application process is already ongoing. The registration is open. And the test assignment phase will begin from the 15th of May and last until 28th of May. So then this thing follows with interviews in the middle of June and training week right after that. So the decisions will be made quite quickly. So in the end of June, already the training week begins and the work begins as well. So, Martti, why did you choose to apply for Winter University back then?
I myself didn't even really know about it. My brother recommended it to me. He had applied the year prior, but he kind of forgot to mention it. But since I had just started university, but he knew that I had some experience, he thought.
So is he with us as well,
Yeah.
or so he recommended it to you and you beat him to it?
Yeah. He later decided that IT is not really for him.
Okay, so considering the amount of people coming from different professions that we have here in audience, maybe he'll think again in future once he has more experience in a different field or has had fun with that.
Yeah,
so,
but then I just thought, what the hell? Let's give it a go. I had only actually completed one semester at that point, but I thought that this would be maybe be a good way to get some real life experience in the field, not just academic.
Mm-hmm. So Hanna-Mari, how about you?
So I actually have graduated University of Tartu in informatics, and turning to university, I had the opportunity to be a part of mathematical informatical society, and during this time we had the opportunity to visit different offices and see different companies in IT. And already during this time, I really saw Nortal as a good place to start your career. But I also had a dream to see the world, so I went for backpacking and discovering a little bit South America. And I remember when I was in next to Caribbean Sea, and I was scrolling Facebook, and then this Nortal University advertisement came up, and I remember all this, I already knew what is the program, and I saw the introduction and everything 1 year before, so I knew that it's actually a good place to start my career. So I was like, why not? I will apply. And
pretty much the same. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah,
let's
why
try
not? So then I got this assignment. We had 2 weeks for that. Right now, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of 2 weeks, yeah.
About, yeah.
Wasn't it longer?
I remember it was 2 weeks, because then I was like, okay, I have 2 weeks to just do the assignment. And yeah, that's it, how I discovered it.
So now we are talking already a bit about the assignment. The time frame for solving the assignment is 2 weeks, but it doesn't take 2 weeks to actually solve it. It takes considerably less amount of time to actually write the code necessary for solving the test assignment. The time frame is 2 weeks, just to make sure that everybody will find the slot in their busy schedules to actually work on this. So the test assignment is probably something that's interesting to you guys. So shall we talk about it a bit more? I can't say a whole lot about this. I can't say what the test assignment is going to be, but what I can say is it's going to be a pre-built application that you need to work on somehow. And that will be described in the test assignment in which ways you need to work on that. So it will cover a backend part that's built in Java. Additional frameworks probably included, but again, I wouldn't open up the specifics right here. And there will be a front-end component to the application as well. So it will be kind of a full stack assignment in a way that you need to work on both of these elements. Solving it probably will be fun. It wouldn't be a boring office application that doesn't make sense to you. So we've tried to build it in a way that you are engaged while solving it, and it's not going to be kind of too tedious to actually get it done. What else? Any very specific questions about the test assignment? Yeah, we have a question here. I think you can leave the microphone here. The questioning side. So in between, I'm going to say that we will not publish the past assignments, nor we going to share what has been specifically in the past assignments either. But go ahead, your question.
So the assignment, will it, apart from the obvious that it has to work as intended, are there other criteria that you will be assessing? Like we were before this recording talking about like microservices versus monolith. Like how's the architecture? How is it approached? Like.
Okay, that's a good question. I wouldn't open up too much of the criteria, but you wouldn't have to do any big decisions on the application because it's something that's already working. It's a working code base that you will receive, but it probably has some bits and pieces missing. Maybe not all of it is working as intended, but the big decisions like the architectural side or the kind of main selection of frameworks is something that has been done for you already. Of course, you can decide and rebuild everything, but it might not be considered when scoring that test assignment. One good thought to keep in mind, try to do the best you can while solving test assignment, making sure, I mean, if it works, but your code is ugly and is unreadable essentially, then this is not helping your scoring. It has to be like the code that you would be writing for the work. So make sure you can understand it. Maybe you let a friend read it and make sure they understand it. Make sure they're not applying, not to kind of give them away too much. But it makes sense to contribute to your maximum and make sure that the code is well written in your mind. So if there are any further questions, just let me know. But in between, Hanna-Mari, how did you think of the last year's test assignment and what were your experiences with that?
Mm-hmm. So for us, it was like 2 different tasks, front end and back end. And as in Tartu, actually, we focused more in the back end. I don't remember any subjects that had a lot of front end. So
you mean in university?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I only had a good experience with the back end. So for me, it was like very comfortable programming in Java. And also one thing I really recommend you to do is that start early and don't do a lot of things in one day. Do piece by piece. Maybe you know how to refactor your code after 1 week if you think about it every day a little bit. At least it worked for me, I think. And as I mentioned, I didn't know a lot. I hadn't seen a lot front end. So the other week for me was just learning about Angular. And I did my maximum to do the assignment. I had some things to work, and I wrote it as well that this is my first time to see this language. So I think it's also given me hopefully little plus points for Nortal saw how I can actually learn in 1 week some language.
So we try to be obscure about the technologies on purpose. I'm not mentioning any frameworks. Actually, I don't even know because I haven't seen this year's test assignment myself. But we try to be obscure on purpose because we want to see your ability to learn new things. That's one of the challenges, part of the challenge. So that we are trying to build the test assignment in a way that you will definitely encounter something you haven't learned before, either in university or if you're studying programming on your own, something that maybe slightly surprises you and makes you go and Google stuff and look it up and read documentation and try to understand it. When I think back to my own test assignment all those years back, I got 1 paragraph of description what needed to be done, and the rest of the 2 A4 pages were filled with list of technologies that I had to use. And back then I didn't know any of them. It was kind of so surprising that I didn't know where to begin. So my first steps were starting to learn about those technologies and figuring out what I had to do, because the description was simple one. The list of technologies was a challenge. But times have changed a bit, and now we no longer give you the list of technologies. We provide you a working application that's a bit more similar to the realistic situation. You're going to end up eventually in a project where you have a working project and working code base that you need to understand and look into and learn from. So this is how it's going to be. But Martti, how about you?
My experience was a bit different. Since we had the assignment in 2 parts, I did the first part with, which wasn't full stack. I did that in the first night, and then I looked into the other part, which was full stack. Then I saw that there were a lot of technologies used that I wasn't familiar with.
So you started from the other end, exactly from the other end, doing the front end part first.
No, we actually had 2 separate. There was a full stack one, and then there was a
Java
pure
one.
Java.
Yeah, okay.
So I did the pure Java one in the first day, and then I haven't really. I'd heard of them, but I had no idea how they worked. So I kind of left it in the drawer for a week.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started to research a bit, and then I think it was 2 days before the deadline.
This is how things usually go. And then you pull the all-nighter and figured it out. And
no, I didn't. It actually
didn't need an all-nighter.
No. It's actually once you get the hang of some of at least like a cursory knowledge of the technologies that are used, then the assignments are quite easy. Well, maybe not easy, but
solvable.
Solvable, yeah. Yeah. It did take me a couple of hours, but that doesn't take into account the amount of time I spent researching the technologies used.
Yeah. So any further questions about the test assignment? There's one question from the live audience. For the actual test assignment, how would we go about the selection? That's a difficult one, because I don't really understand what's meant here. There will be a bunch of a list of strict criteria that we try to follow. The fact, is it working? Are the tests, automated tests, running? So there will be a list of strict criteria. And additionally, there will be a list of soft criteria that will be used by the evaluators to provide additional points for the test assignment. And this is what I meant when I said do your best when writing the code. You can do additional stuff in there. If you see something is written in a bad way, you can fix that. But just make sure you add a remark somewhere that you did that. So this is kind of the additional effort that will be evaluated, or the readability of the code, how the code is split up into different methods and functions. So these are all things that might be evaluated on the soft side, but there's probably a bunch more that I'm not aware of, because the list always improves. And I'm not in the group of people who's actually doing the evaluation myself this year. And then there's a question, how does the test assignment compare to everyday tasks that are tackled at Nortal? Maybe you guys can answer that. So how does it compare with the work you do every day here?
Well, the full stack part, I'd say, is pretty similar. I mean, at least for me. Yeah, the architecture was very similar to the one I am now currently using in my project.
Oh, if I'm honest, actually, I don't remember a lot about this.
It was way back.
It was like, yeah, 1 year, but like I'm developing a mobile application, so front end is different, definitely. But yeah, Java is important. Like our backend is full of Java, so.
Yeah, I took a glance at my test assignment this morning, so that's why I
I was very surprised.
things.
Like, whoa, you remember?
No, I specifically took a look at it.
But over the years, we've tried to make it more and more similar to the actual work. This is why we kind of moved away from the 2A4s of technologies, because people joining in the project don't usually start projects. They don't get a list of technologies or need to figure out the list of technologies themselves. There are senior developers, architects, and team leads in place who will help in those decisions and set up the framework, the core of those projects. And then the team builds on top of that and has the ability to evolve it over the years. So I'm not saying that once you join in, you don't have any decision around the technologies. You definitely will have, but probably there is already something in place that you can build upon. Then there's a question about very specific technology. So does the test assignment require Spring knowledge, or it can be solved with Java SE? I'd say Spring knowledge would be beneficial nowadays anyway. With simple Java SE, I mean, you can definitely solve it without prior Spring framework knowledge, because that's quite an easy framework. It's a big one, but it's an easy framework to learn. So if for the test assignment, we have chosen the technology stack to be quite similar to the stack that we use in many different projects. So it's not anything obscure either. It's not going to be something that you will never encounter in the line of work while joining in. It's going to be a list of technologies that is used in majority of projects in majority of Estonian organizations, so including Nortal. So, do we have any further questions from the audience here about test assignment? No. So let's move on to the interview phase. Once the test assignment is completed and submitted, those will be evaluated, and everybody will get a response about if they move on to the interview phase or have a chance to try again next year. So everybody will get a response, and if you haven't had a response by the time that's kind of listed in the timeline, please contact us. So maybe something has fallen between the floorboards somewhere. So you should definitely get an answer from us. I had something more in mind about test assignment, but maybe it will come back later. Oh, yeah, I remembered it. When I received my test assignment, it was initially so scary that I put it aside and decided I'm not going to do it, but I still tried it afterwards. And I think even if you initially feel that it's beyond you, it's still worth trying. And if you end up with a solution that's not kind of fully solved, that's okay as well. It's okay to submit that solution. It already gives some information for us, and you don't really know how good or bad the others were, right? maybe the test assignment is that difficult that nobody solves it fully. It still makes sense to submit the results even if you know that they're not complete and is not working fully. I think there was a story in the last year's the similar event we had that the test assignment solution was not really even compiling at the point when we received it, but our developers looked it up, kind of checked why is it not compiling, and found some illicit character somewhere within the code. So they deleted it, the code worked, test passed, and the person is now working in Nortal. Nobody knows how the character got in there, but it was there. So the solutions are not kind of thrown away easily. If it's not working for obvious reasons, our engineers will definitely fix it and see if it works then. If you break everything, then our engineers will not fix it to make sure if it works then. But if there are some simple mistakes, you may get away with those. So let's move on to the interview phase. Those lucky ones who will get past the test assignment will be invited for an interview. The interviews will take place in Tallinn and Tartu on consecutive days. So if you're from Tartu, it's possible to attend an interview there. And what happened at the interview? Do you remember?
Yeah. There was first, most of the day took up was like a group interview. It was more like we were given an assignment, which we then had to solve, and we were observed throughout the day. And
so that assignment actually has a very specific purpose, because everybody who's joining in will be joining a team, and we want to make sure that people who are joining are able to work in a team and are efficiently working in a team. There are many aspects that you can imagine are evaluated during such kind of group assignment solving. If somebody is maybe taking a lead and doing everything themselves and not giving a single minute to others, that's not a good sign, most probably. And vice versa, if somebody doesn't speak up the entire time and not making themselves heard, this might be an issue in the future workplace as well. So there are several things that are actually evaluated during this group interview, in addition to the stuff that's actually being solved on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper. So how about you?
I think it was very interesting experience actually. Like I never had this kind of interview before, and yeah, the group interview actually had different parts. And they look different aspects of your social skills, I would say. Also, how you actually ask questions. What questions do you ask if you see the problem? So this is also, I think, very important part of solving some problems and find solutions. So they were looking at this as well. And after the group interviews, we had personal interviews. And yeah, there was this last about like 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And I think I remember that this interview wasn't technical at all. They didn't ask any questions about code or Java, anything. So they asked questions about you more, like who are you? And what do you like and what do you do in life? What you have achieved and what are you proud of? This kind of questions.
So this part is more about showing us how you fit into Nortal culture in general, and how, like, what else do you like to do besides writing code? Are there anything else? So there's nothing difficult throughout either of those interviews. There's no preparation needed for you to join them. You just come in and do your best, show your passion towards software engineering, share who you are personally, and I'm not sure if we have kind of left anyone out based on their personality alone. Probably not. But there have been challenging personalities, and this is something that we can use to afterwards select the teams where the people are joining in, to making sure that these personalities of the candidates are matching in with the skill set of the teams and the ways of communication within the teams. Because some teams are very extrovert and other teams like to communicate more on chat, for example. So there are different options available within the organization, and we just want to make sure that the candidates find the best possible place for them. So do we have any questions about the interview from the audience? I know we have some from the online audience. Yeah, okay. So there is a question about test assignment, and the question is it okay to use all available tools when solving test assignment, even AI tools? Yes, it is okay, but just be aware that AI oftentimes doesn't provide code that's, let's say, approved by other developers. It's a tool that generates something, and as a developer, your role is to make sure that it works, it's readable. All of these tools out there today oftentimes introduce some bugs in the code. So it initially seems that they work, but if you look at some corner cases or some advanced use cases, then they tend to fail miserably. So it's critical that you still understand the code and you understand how it works, but it's permitted to use these tools, because this is again something that will be available for you once you join in. And for the group assignment, I'm not sure if they allow to do any Googling at that time.
There's no
But
There's no really need.
And there's no time, I would say, actually, as well.
Yeah.
Because all the tasks were very limited time to see how you actually react or to them.
Yeah, but if anybody wants to come in with ChatGPT to the interview and kind of type in the questions and get the responses back, fine, you can do that. So there's a question about flexible time frame. So is it possible to essentially work and study together? Yes, it is possible. I'm not sure.
No,
I mean, you are currently studying as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, you as well.
Yeah.
So it is possible to kind of work part-time and study at the same time. It is strongly advisable, though, that during the summer period or during the training period to have your full attention for this program. I know it has been asked for by some applicants if there are some travels that are kind of in between or at the same time overlapping. You will get a significantly different experience from the others, and it's going to be more challenging after the training week to get onboarded to a team if you're not fully present at the training week. So any questions now about the interview? Yes, there is one, so let's please pass the mic.
Hi. Not so much about the interview, but about being present. Does this usually for you mean people being in the office or just being available? Or how is your this kind of
yes, the
home
work
office?
arrangement.
Yes.
For the training week, it's on site. It takes place in the office, and people from different city, you will be accommodated. Everything will be set up throughout the training week for you, and it will take place in the office. But after that, once you join the teams, it's a lot about how teams have arranged their own work until now. So it's about stating your preference during the interview phase. So this gives us an opportunity to pick the team that most suits to your needs. So if for some reason you prefer to do home office all the time, we have plenty of teams like that who are working in a remote first way. So it's possible to join one of those teams. In general, in Nortal, again, the teams are very mixed. I don't think there is a team today that's fully in the office anymore. I think all of the teams are working remotely in some way. I know some teams have agreed that on specific days of the week they will be in the office to get some type of work done. So maybe some sprint grooming meetings, some technical design meetings. They can step in front of a whiteboard, and it's much more efficient than trying to do some online whiteboards. But most of the teams are online some way or another. Okay. If we don't have any further questions at the moment, let's talk about the training program. So we are doing the training program beforehand not to kind of fill in the gaps that you have coming from your previous careers or your from university. The main reason for doing this training program is to introduce the Nortal way of working for you. So introducing the tool set that we use here, some of the specific technologies that are maybe more prevalent in several projects, so it's easier for you to get going in those specific projects. And also so you can get introduced to each other. So it's a kind of a form of building a community, a group of people who joined in together. You're going to have a bunch of contacts immediately, even before you start off within the projects. So what are your maybe more significant memories from the training week?
I think the more significant ones were the social activities. There was something going on every night, but also during the day. It was fun to get to know the other people during, let's say, lunchtime or between the. The training week was set up kind of like a school day. You had specific time slots for specific subjects, and in between two subjects, it was just nice to get to know everyone. And I don't really remember a lot of the technical stuff, so I'd say the social aspect was
okay. I was already afraid that there was too much partying for you, and so you don't remember anything technical anymore.
I think for me it was a very good combination of studying new things and also to get to know about Nortal overall and each other who got into this program. I remember that it started on Monday, and it started softly. In the middle of the week it was more technical, and it ended also more softly, like hamburger effect. But it worked, and also I really enjoyed that they actually gave very wide overview of different aspects working as a software developer. I don't know, testing, programming, clean code, how the teams work. So all the different aspects. So if you really want to, you can actually dig deeper and ask questions from the presenters, because like almost all the roles were there. So use your opportunity to ask questions also from the presenters if you get to the final week.
Yeah. So there may be a question, is it possible to join that training week even if you're not selected for the final 15? Usually no, but there have been exceptions to this rule. I mean, if you're really exceptional and we just yet don't have a place for you, then you might still get an invite for the training week. So you get the chance to feel how Nortal works from inside. There have been these past examples where these people maybe join in after half a year. So they already have gone through the training program, they know Nortal, they know the way we work. We just don't have the project for them at this specific time. So we invite them for the training week anyway and get to know each other. And once the project comes up, it's easy to make an offer for that person.
I was basically because I was actually brought on as a QA, although they weren't actually looking for QAs.
Okay, so there wasn't a perfect place for you at that time, but still you were brought on and you got the chance to find the spot for you later.
Yeah, so now I'm working as a developer, but I was brought on as a QA. So if you impress someone, I don't know who I impressed enough, but if you impress someone enough, maybe, I mean, it's not impossible to kind of get like an exception.
So, any other questions? Not from the chat, anybody from the audience about interview, training program, test assignment? We have one question at the back there, so let's pass the microphone.
Is there a date by which we can expect to get the answer of whether or not we got into the program?
Yes, so the interview phase ends on 13th of June, and the training week begins on 26th. I think after the interview, it shouldn't take more than a week or...
Like 4 days.
Yeah, okay, 4 days after the interviews, and after that you're gonna get the response if you're selected for the final 15. So we try to move fast for your sake and for ours as well, just to not linger too much on the decision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the last phase of these things is working in a project. Once you complete the training week and know you cannot drop out from the training week, you will be forwarded to a team, to your own individual mentor, who will be taking you on your side to make sure that you have all the possible help that you may need to actually solve the assignments that you have been given in that project. And you will be working for actual customers on an actual code and hopefully contributing to actual live deployments as well at some point. Of course, we have a bunch of procedures in place to make sure that the code is reviewed, tested. You get a lot of good or maybe not that good feedback on your code during code reviews. I think I remember my first code review. It had like 20 bullet points about everything I did wrong, but it was framed in a very polite and nice manner. So I was very eager to go ahead and fix them and did not feel bad, because it's all about code. We have additional trainings for our developers about how to do code reviews. There are a few simple tips. So it's nothing difficult, but we actually train our developers how to do good code reviews, and not about how to make sure that everything is covered, but also how to give the feedback in a very proper way that nobody feels bad. And probably at some point you're going to do code reviews yourselves as well. That's not far off. Probably, how long did you guys work when you did your first code review?
Well,
Approximately.
after I started developing it, I think it took about a month.
Oh, that fast.
But
so, what about you?
This is really fast. I think for me it went like, I don't know, about half year or something when I feel comfortable to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And do my first one.
I know the practices in teams are very different. Some just ask juniors to pitch in to the code review. Somebody else will do the additional code review. And often even senior developers say that they gain a lot of experience from juniors doing the code review for them, because the way of thinking is very different oftentimes from somebody who has a fresh pair of eyes coming from outside and has not been working on this particular project for several years.
I would like to point out that we only had me and another developer, so...
Okay, so
okay.
you didn't have a lot of choice.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it has taught me a lot. I mean, you learn how... You see how other people write their code, kind of maybe see some things that you maybe can do better yourself. But yeah, it just gives a fresh perspective.
So what was the most difficult thing when you started off doing actual work on actual projects?
For me, it was the amount of information they throw me in. Because like for me, it was my first project ever, and my first experience working in a software development team, and our project had many different aspects, and actually as a developer you should have a good overview of all of the aspects. So in the first month, every day there was new information, and in the beginning it was a little bit overwhelming, but I tell you that don't panic. It's normal. I think we all have felt it. So yeah, for me the hardest thing was the amount of information, and I felt bad that I don't know everything that maybe I should, but it's okay. You shouldn't know everything.
So Martti, how was did you start off in the tax domain?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might have, you might have the similar feeling. There's a lot of complex domain knowledge in the tax area.
I do feel I was a bit lucky in that regard. Since I started as a QA, I only, well, not only, but mostly needed to focus on the business logic side of stuff and less on the technical side. So I was kind of eased into the technical side. I was just interested in the code base and requested access to it just to kind of get a feeling of what it's like.
Yeah. So you took an initiative, asked access to the code base, and started to build stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any questions about working in projects part? Yeah, there is a question in the middle, so let's pass the microphone.
I have a question about changing projects or changing cities. Is it possible to move between Tartu and Tallinn maybe? And if there's
So there are some projects that actually have teams in Tartu and Tallinn, so they're already distributed teams. There are projects that have distributed teams between Estonia, Lithuania, and USA as well. So it's a possibility that you might join in a team that is already distributed in a very different way. Mm-hmm. Yes, it will be possible. If you have a preference like that, it's advisable to mention it during the interview phase. so that we can make sure that the project fits your needs. It's also possible at some point to change projects and even to relocate to some other country to work on those teams, with those teams on those projects that they have.
Yeah, and also I really like the fact that Nortal supports remote working. Like I know that you can work like 3 months in another country. You have to be like just close to your main project location. But I don't know, there have been examples where people working in Tenerife or some warm place in the winter time. So I'm planning to use it as well in next winter to survive it.
Yeah, the close proximity is required only for time zone purposes. So if you travel across the globe to the other side, it might be difficult to join in the Teams meetings and get help from your mentor because the mentoring part doesn't go away once you kind of graduate the Nortal Leap program. It will continue to go on even up until when you're a senior developer in Nortal. You're going to have somebody who you can ask help from, who might not be always from your own project, but is technically capable of helping you in terms of any specific challenges you might have or any career advice that you might need. So, I think we have one more question. So what happens if I'm selected for the interviews but cannot participate? Yeah, let us know. It's just open communication all the way. If you get through the interviews and you cannot participate in training week, let us know. It's always good to have an open communication channel. It's I would say nothing disastrous will happen. We don't require you to solve another test assignment next year. If it's not possible to join in the interviews, you might get directly to the interview round next year. If it's not possible to join in, maybe we make an agreement that we contact you again on the next year and you get a free pass to the end round. So just open communication channels about all your needs and requirements and your wishes as well in terms of projects, because I know people have some people have very specific preferences on projects they like to work on or the domains they like to work on. Although we don't have projects that might be kind of fishy in some way, we don't have any projects in gambling area or like that. So, but still, some people want to work in e-health very specifically. They want to develop themselves in that domain, or there might be somebody who's very interested in tax, for example, so that they want to understand the financial world much better, and it's possible to accommodate that. Just let us know about that early on as possible. So, yes. So maybe let's finish off with some main takeaways or advice from you two to our listeners. What would you say is the most crucial part that would help our audience to get in Nortal Leap and be successful here?
I think don't be afraid of the assignment. Just start. Do it step by step. If it feels scary in the beginning, I think after this 2 weeks it will not be scary anymore and more like see it as a challenge, I would say. And I think if you pass the first round, then just be yourself in the next rounds, and then I think everything will go all right.
Yeah, my advice would just to be kind of give it a go. You've literally got nothing to lose. If you don't get it this year, maybe try again next year.
you don't get the red flag attached to you. It's rather a good sign if you try again, and we will take a note of your learnings throughout the way. So it's positive thing if you try again.
Yeah, if you get selected, don't be afraid of not knowing things, because I know I felt it a bit in the beginning during the first few months. Kind of felt like I didn't know anything, and felt bad about it. But there was actually no need. Everyone was very supportive, and
yeah, I remember I was panicking for. Like in every error message I got, I was like panicking. But now it's like part of my job, and I feel very like chill about it. But I think it comes with experience.
So do we have any more questions to the end about anything related to Nortal Leap, or the work as a software engineer? So if we don't, then let's wrap it up, and looking forward to see every one of you taking part of this opportunity, applying, and hopefully seeing you in Nortal in summer. So thank you.
Yeah.